false starts again, but let's get it going. So, we're learning about grapple attacks. Things like that, or like this suplex. You got in the way, a-hole. A rolling suplex. It never ends. So, we're going to learn that. Simple implementation. We'll do some animations too, so that'll be fun. Let's get it going. Let's see here. So, the base of it is just to have a position for like another character to follow. And so how I did it is just in my animations here, or like my characters, my models, armature, their bones, their bones, armature, is to have another bone that just gets followed. And then we can animate it like in our animations. The grapple pivot and a grapple point. So the pivot is like something that we can kind of offset it. It might be a little redundant. You might just be able to have like a grapple point that just follows. I don't know. I find it nice to have a pivot too. You can kind of smooth out the motions. Anyway, let's get to some specifics here. I feel like we're just sort of in media res, like just trying to like have an intro, but I guess it's okay to just get it popping. Forgot what the... So if y'all know a better way to store animations, I just keep making duplicates of... Kate has a ton of animations, so after a while it takes too long to update it. So I just make a new one, a new Blender file, and have the animations in there. Whoops. It's been a while since I've seen your progress. Hey, nice to see you. Thanks. So, let's just open up the... I didn't do a very good job with the Blender shortcuts last time, so I'll try and do that. So, hit tab to go back into edit mode. If you're not familiar with like any of this, I'm sorry. You'll have to do some preliminary stuff about setting up an armature, like for animations and things. So anyway, I parented with an offset grapple pivot here, to her chest. You could do like her hips or stomach or something, or maybe if you have like a root, you prefer that, you could just do that. But basically, this is just here to, whoops. Let's see. Let's actually start like a whole new... Do that one. Is that the move? Yeah. I don't know if I wanted to start from that. It doesn't matter too much. But maybe I do care. This one? No, this one started the same. I'm kind of redoing how her like base animations are, so I'm trying to find one that's like doesn't do that. Anyway, I'm wasting time. That doesn't matter. Go ahead and make a new one from here. Okay, tutorial slam. And then we'll just delete all these. Right click here, Shift D to duplicate, just like if you're working with verts or something, you can Shift D for keys. So now we have a beginning and end. I usually just do 0 to 60, and then, that way it's based on... Although this is at 24 frames, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you just find something that you find consistent. It's 100 or whatever. 60 works for me. I used to work even smaller, like 50, 40. That way my keys, I wouldn't get caught up in animating like super fine details. Because it gets smoothed out. These are just keys, like, it blends through it. Anyway, back to the point I was making. I was trying to do. That's why I did it. So, clear pose transforms. Again, if you don't know what to do, but you kind of remember what it's called, you hit space. And a lot of times I find that the spacebar shortcut is faster, even initially, and then also it's right there. It defaults. So if you're doing something a lot, then you can always just hit space, clear pose transforms. Blender is awesome. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have our base here. And so here's that. Oh, that's the weapon pivot. So we have the grapple pivot. And if we rotate it, we can move it around. We can scale it. And then the grapple point is where the enemies are actually attached to it. And in addition to that, I can rotate it a bit. It's kind of small. I think I need to redo that a little bit. And that will determine like their position, because in game what we're going to do is just have them follow that, and then have them follow, you know, the rotation of this point here. This little thing I did is just to ignore inherit scale. That way I can scale this, and you know it stays its same size. I do that with a weapon pivot too. I can scale that like this. I don't know if this is common practice or even if it's bad practice, but I found it useful. In the future, I hope to try some new stuff. But you can see I can scale it out, but her sword won't scale. Anyway. So, back here. I want to check Twitter and see if anyone recommended a wrestling move. But I also tweeted how the... it's particularly lewd this morning. I don't know why. There's just a lot of very spicy tweets. You know, image-wise, and so I kind of want to check Twitter, but I don't want to. It's just not stream appropriate. So, trying to think where to start. I guess we could just show it in slow motion to show what's going on. Let's do the power bomb. We didn't show that one off yet. We got a few of them. Jump power bomb. The regular one looks pretty cool. It's a little weak, but it has that wrestling feel, so it's kind of fun. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, I got to kind of, so I can hit. My dudes, forgive me. Please face. I hit the wrong button again. Alright, here we go. So, we'll focus on the animation first, and then I'll show you some of the other stuff I have to do. It's going to be really game specific, but hopefully it'll give you maybe a guideline for yourself to, you know, work with. So I have the initial shoot, you know, like as in like grappling shooting, where she just dives in, and then if they're successful, it'll convert to another move down here. Again, this is all engines with like my game specific. These are all custom editors, and so it'll convert to like this powerbomb slam. So I can just change this. I could even make this random. You know, she's going to have a lot of grapples in the game. You know, one is like just frame timing will let you loop throws. Depending on what the enemy's doing, it'll be different. And then maybe some like throw chains and stuff. We'll see. So we go through. The enemy gets hit here. Let's see. You can see how it got sucked in. So this means like the grapple happened. Get a better view here. There's... I also, like I have with my normal impacts, like if they get hit, it's just blended between, you know, light and heavy, and then some like special ones, like if they're like skidding on the ground. And they're just single frame animations, which is also what I did in Aces Wild. They didn't end up in the final game, but there were throws in Aces Wild. And so the throws sort of, I know this is like really vague because it's really engine specific, but hopefully, again, it'll help. So, you know, the initial hit will, you know, assign an animation to the person getting grappled. And, you know, it's a little bit weird here. You can do some cleanup, but in game, like it doesn't, it looks fine. Let's refocus here so we're getting some weird clipping. Sorry about all the camera stuff. I have a, you know, screen space camera with 3D on it, so it's, screen space camera is the right word. Anyway, that's all this nonsense in the way is the camera, like the UI HUD and stuff. And so, you know, we hit here, and then it's going to convert to the new one here. So we had the shoot, and then we had power bomb. I think we did the jump one, or I did the regular one, I think. It's going to be that. But it's going to look real spicy in the game. And we can see here. So let's get her armature if we can. We have our grapple pivot. It's invisible because they're just bones. The grapple point right here. And then this jabroni, their position is following that. It's actually this one right here. It's complicated. I have like some complicated sort of hierarchies for my characters for doing stuff like this. It's not necessary for this specific thing, but it's just for what I need. And then it just follows along. You know, what's cool about it is because we can do physics and things too. So we'll show that. Just lift them up right here, just like this. We'll show that in the animation. And you can see this is our, our grapple pivot right here. And, as it rotates, it maintains that rotation. If you need something like maybe they flip around, like I'll scale this out, you do, like you really want that sort of flip look, like that wrestling style where they like flip around a little bit, and you can do that too. Or you can have this grapple pivot sort of lag behind. The characters also don't follow it super precisely. They sort of blend into it, and we'll get to that with the code. It gives it some smoothness. Slam down. And then, built into those, just regular powerbomb slam. We have these special grapple impacts, which is like them getting hit, but it doesn't create a hitbox. So it takes this information like a normal hit attack, and there's just a special flag right here that will just strike, quote unquote, whoever you're grappling at the time. Then we'll show it like full on because it looks badass. So go, So that one's a little more playful, it's like sort of classic wrestling. If we do like some really over the top stuff, we can get cool. So let's see. So this one, the timing's a little weird. It was hard because it doesn't happen. I also put a little loop in there. So if we are up high, it won't execute till we hit the ground. So you can get some cool badass stuff like that. And yes, you can do it off the bridge, and it's as hype as you think. Oh, we missed! Oh, we made it. Okay. The impact's a little weak there, but that's just an artistic thing. When I was first implementing it, it was fun, so I made a bunch of animations. I didn't, make them look super cool. So anyway, that's the gist of it. We can glance at the code. Really, it comes down to this, and we'll animate one to show you. So right here, I have a bit of a blend just by myself. Like they're kind of far away here, and then I pull it in here. It gets a little bit shorter. And then here, they're really getting hugged close. We also might implement something for large enemies to create an offset. And we'll get to that. But basically, we'll use their hitbox. Like you could assign like special cases like to each character, but if you have something that exists that sort of defines them anyway, such as a hitbox, you can use that to push them out, which we'll get. I haven't done it yet, and we'll try and do that today. So we have this is really game specific, so we'll just have to, learn from it. So we have different launch types, if they're flying through the air or they're stunned. Like I have like double over stuns, like where they're, if you're familiar with Tekken, like you get punched in the stomach and you're like, oh my god, like I'm stunned, like a kidney shot or something, or excuse me, like a liver shot. So yeah, launch type's 5, and you're getting grappled while you're in hit stun. You have this grapple state. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like where you are specifically, like whether you just got hit by it or if you're being thrown through the air, like if you're being quote unquote manhandled, if you're in this state where you're following. There's also like the initial one where you get assigned like someone throwing you. So I just maintain the hit stun. So it's based on, whether the person targeting them is still doing a grapple, and it checks to see if we're doing a grapple. And if we look here, I just have this flag here. grappling, and it lasts this long. Again, this is very specific to my game. This is a custom editor. So during that time, you know, whether, like, if I get hit out of it, generally I make her invincible while she's doing this, but you don't have to do that if you want it a little more realistic, or maybe that's the balance of throws. Like, they're strong, but they're slow, and you're only affecting one enemy at a time or whatever. And so that way, like, they won't get stuck in hit stun. You know, I keep it kind of low. You know, if it was at 0 or 1, like, it was like as soon as you got hit, the other character would pop out and it looked maybe a little unrealistic. If you wanted to, you know, take that further, you could make an effect like fall out of grapple, where you do like a slight hit and they just sort of fall out and don't take any damage, but it looks a little nicer or whatever. This hit animation stuff is pretty standard. I just had to do some hacks because I need to redo this code. I have just sort of a standard one in here for, like, as soon as they get grappled, like, they sort of just bend over a little bit. Because it was pretty universal. If you need something else, like maybe they're stiff, like if you're doing like a tombstone pile driver or a muscle buster or something, you might need a different sort of look initially. Again, this is like before they're like hit by this. And sorry, as I go along, I see this is like all super vague. It's such a simple implementation. You know, there's not much to say. It's really about, you know, the animation and just having something there to follow. And I want to convey that you can use like existing hit effects that you might have. Again, I had these in Aces Wild where enemies only had 2 frames of hit animation. It was like hit high and hit mid. And then you have rotations and things, and it was the exact same thing. You know, they would just follow along the character like this. It was a little more manual. Like, I would use math instead of like a pivot because I was doing like 2D animation. So instead it was like I had like a start and an end, and then I would just interpolate like a circle or something, and the enemy would just follow that. But again, it would follow the grappler's velocity, so you can get some cool stuff where they're following along, you know, in this motion, you know, getting slammed and stuff, but it also follows the physics. Like, you can make it so this is like a sit back slam, like when you pick them up and you jump backwards instead, if you like that. You can do it where it like follows the physics. So if you have a character that's dashing around, and we'll show that off. I have a few moves like that too. That's another reason why this one's cool. It's really good game feel because you have this momentum of your character and like you're feeling it, and you know, the enemy gets caught in this, and then they can just get slammed around. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully the chat's updating okay. Starting to repeat myself, but you know, that's basically it. They just follow that code. Now, where is it? Thought it was right up top there. Oh, there it is. I feel silly. So right here, it's a follow velocity. So that's the other thing. That's okay. I knew there was something important there. We're not assigning it. We're using our same velocities. So we're not just assigning that position. We're using velocity to push them into that position because we still want our physics, right? Because if we just assign it, it's really easy to just push people out, you know, through, oh fudge, wrong button. You know, they would fall through like the collision if we were just like assigning. If we do it like up against walls, oh no, it's too rad. We're stuck. Where'd they go? And yes, it is awesome. Power bombing some down the steps. And so not only do we sort of soften the, you know, the interpolation of like that target, the grapple point, we use physics to push them into it because we've already have our physics, right? We've already done that, you know, like collision physics or hit detection, collision detection. And so it honors that. So you're going to get some weird stuff where you're up against the wall, but who cares? This is like super simple and it looks good. So we have our follow velocity. So we just make this new vector 3, and you know, it's pretty standard stuff. Grapple target. every character has their own grapple target. I guess that's the other part of the implementation. And it's just a game object. See here. The highlight right here. Sorry, I'm trying to I can't point, but I am. It's a game object that's just empty for each character. And when they get hit by a grapple, we have the grapple point of each character, and it assigns that to the grapple target. So now it has a target, which is the grapple point of the character who's grabbing them. And so the fall velocity is the grapple target position minus my position. And I do ×1 here. This is just to dampen it a bit if you need. But it looks like this looks okay. It looks like I don't soften it at all, honestly. So it must be the softness comes from the fact that the grapple point will update, and then I have to change my velocity. And so that's up to you if you want a little bit of softer motion, but this is already a little bit softened, if you know what I mean. And so we just set velocity. It's pretty standard. That's just going to be engine specific. Mine just use, character controller.move, and it uses that. I have set velocity, but it's it's just my velocity variable, and then at the end of each update, the character's physics update, and just push them along. And, it does the collision detection. So next rotation is the rotation of the grapple target times an offset here. This is just something you have to find yourself. It has to do with just because we import these transforms of these bones, and their XYZ doesn't necessarily reflect exactly what the XYZ is going to be in Unity. So you just have to have a bit of an offset, and that's how you correct it right here. So we have next rotation. It's the transform rotation, or the grab at targets transform rotation times that offset, and that's how you add quaternions rotations. We do a lerp here, a smooth lerp. I do it based on 0.2. So that's just a value you're just gonna have to see what feels right to you. This one's pretty soft. I think it feels really good. When we're doing that power bomb, you can see how the rotation's a bit slower, and they're sort of lagging behind. And it makes it feel like they're really kind of flopping around and catching up to your velocity. And I'll show it off here real quick again. Some of that is shown in the animation, but you just get that extra level of softness that makes it feel a little bit better. And then we just set that rotation there. So that's about it. Once they get hit by a grapple impact, so we assign an impact. Again, that's just a forced hit. It's not a regular strike. They fall out of it, and then do different effects, just like our hit effects. We could take that power bomb, instead make them bounce up. Let's see how that looks. Oh, we're going to have to change our velocities a little bit because I think they slam straight down. So our knockback, let's make it really strong, going straight down. So we do this, boom. Nope, not going to give it to me. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. This is the wrong move. Again, this is all very game specific. This is just for Citadel Thief. This time, it might just work if I bounce. The animation is going to look bad, but the bounce might look hot. So let's just see. Nope, not quite. Knockback, straight down, but then we do a bounce. Whoops. Hopefully this is still the right move. See, then they bounce up like that, and it's pretty dope. I'll leave that for now. If I don't like it, then I'll change it later. Dunked into the Shadow Realm. No doubt. Thanks for joining us. Panda Dangerous. Good. Pandangerous. Okay, that's even better. Good name. Thanks Thanks for joining us. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with a Muscle Buster. But I also wanted some grapples for... there's 2 sword types in the game. And they... Oh, that looks gross. Have their own unique move sets, and then a portion of that's customizable. And like the big wrestling type stuff is for the greatsword. And but you might have some cool sort of... I'm trying to think what we might be able to do. I mean, you got like the classic like Izuna drop, which I was thinking about doing. I mean, we could do that because it would be pretty simple to animate. Trying to think here. I mean, Muscle Buster would be cool. I think the Muscle Buster would be cool because it'll... Oh, I try to say here. Just because the position's a lot different from what we've been doing, like how the enemy sort of flows. But it's also a little boring because you kind of just hold them in place and jump in the air. What was one that I was thinking of doing that I thought seemed fun? Any recommendations, chat? Some power bombs. I had one in mind that I thought would be fun, and I can't think of it. We could do Tomoe Nage. I thought about doing that. Yeah, let's do that. Sorry if you're a wrestling fan. If you get in the chat and we change them, let me know that we could do a couple here. So, if you're just looking for the implementation, that's it. I'm gonna go through it all again as in summary, just to make sure I covered all the bases. So, to start, in our bones, in our armature, we create a new bone here. The most important one here is the point, the grapple point here. I also have a pivot to do smooth, rounded animations here for that point. Even though it's parented to her chest, I also want an additional amount of smoothness, like rounded animation here. But you don't necessarily have to have that. You could just have a bone offset. You could even animate it in Unity. You could have just a game object here, parented to your character. Do a simple animation that you just make in Unity that goes with your animation, and that would look just as good. I mean, it would be indistinguishable if you implemented it that way, because it is really quite simple. It's the physics in the game, and a bit of the animations that sell it. But again, you're not going to get those things where like Tekken, where King's lifting their arm up around his head, and they're kind of flopping around like real gracefully, not gracefully, but realistically and dramatically. And so we make our animation. Right here we have our power bomb. Sort of have them go up here. We're following her arms. There's a bit of lag, not too much. And then they get slammed down right here, and then right here, we do that grapple impact, which is a little more game specific. But if you already have sort of impact effects, then just use that. So again, boom, follow along like that. Do the bounce now, which is pretty cool. Oh yes, again, you'll need to, in each character, assign a variable to follow that. So we have our grapple target. It's not assigned yet because she hasn't been struck by a grapple yet. The grapple point is your own personal one here. Again, you have to assign that too. So that's that point we set up in our armature, and we assign that here by dragging it over. And if the character doesn't have any grapples, then they won't need one. But the grapple target, again, this is just an empty, it's a null game object until it gets assigned if they get struck by a grapple. So, actually wanted to show some others. It's not, you can use it in different ways. So I know we were going to get to the stuff, but real quick, like, let's do... People are calling it wild throw, and I wasn't even like thinking of it as that. Well, that's basically what it is. You just grab them like that and dunk on them. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You know, it's the same principle. It looks pretty hot. It makes you look super strong. Bit of a glitch there. The updating is weird because we're streaming and stuff. And we had one more move that I wanted to show. And I don't remember if it's Dragon Slayer or Dragon Slayer Grapple. To see. So like that. It's a little whack, but it's like the idea is that she's falling with them, like with her sword in him, like that. You know what I mean? I haven't fully animated that one yet, and that one's like really physics based. So it's like if she's running, oop, bad dodge, like she'll really hold on to the physics. You know what I mean? That one needs touched up, but it's not just for that. I don't know. I was hoping maybe to get sort of a reverse grapple. We might experiment with that. I might cut the stream, or maybe we'll do it next week. So where when we do it against a large target, maybe it changes a bit, and instead, like, we're sort of attached to them because we can't throw them. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, actually, sorry, it's really haphazard today. I thought this is going to be straightforward, but it always happens on my streams. I did want to show, you know, a larger enemy. So I have these horsepowers, big strong ladies. And it looks a little whack. You know what I mean? So we need to do some like corrections that maybe we'll do in the game. And you might just need to restrict it. But of course, you know, we all want to suplex trains and stuff. So we're going to do a few things to correct that. Sorry, I went back and forth there. So I suppose... I mean, is it interesting? People keep asking for animations. It just seems... the stream's going to get a little boring, like from a speaking standpoint. You know, sometimes with animations I can... I don't know. Let's just get to it. I'm running on fear here, and you shouldn't... it's one of my mom's. That's always stuck with me. It's like, you know, don't make decisions based on fear. So, and that's a little over dramatic for what we're talking about here. But so let's see. We had our tutorial slam. So we have here. Let's get a better starting point. Let's go ahead and just use this. A, Control C. In particular, you know, she does it based off a shoot, so it's always this pose. But we don't always want that. Let's see. I can't remember. I had so many false starts that I'm going to show one more thing. Just to show sort of like the range of motion, in case we don't get it in the animation that we make, that you can get some really cool stuff where, like, you know, we have the suplex, and then we have like a rolling suplex like that. You can see they just stay attached, and it looks like super badass. But what I really want to do, so we have it here, and then I'm going to, no, they're going to die. Hold on. Knock them in the air. I'll get it soon. Hold on. But we can kind of combine that physics and that movement to get some really, really badass looking stuff. So just want to show that real quick, and then we'll start making our own. So unfortunately, the way I have it set up, because this, I don't necessarily have a move that's meant for that yet. Oh, she missed. God damn it. Sorry, this isn't the main implementation of this move, so... Sorry, there were effects in the way. That was like the look I'm looking for, but... Anyway, hopefully you get the idea. Especially with that rolling one, it's really fun. I had like a really over-the-top one. Maybe we'll do something like that. I mean, maybe we should just do like an Azuna drop, because that's cool. Again, if you have any ideas, let me know, or we're going to jump in here. So let's go ahead and copy that. I think we'll do that instead. That's a little more fun. Azuna drop is like, you know, ninjas in games where they jump up really high. Like Kirby has one. You know, Yoshimitsu. Name a ninja who doesn't. I dare you. I'll wait. So go ahead and paste that. Insert. Correct some of our excuse me, IKs. This is probably not even going to be that hard to animate, but it'll be fun to mess with the physics in the game. So we want her to, we grab them, and then similar to like the suplex, probably going to shift up here. And again, we're just going to copy that. We're going to change it a little bit. Now I'm really getting to the habits of just reusing animations where I can, and then just adjusting them a bit. Just don't be afraid to do it. It's so fast. So go ahead, make that similar. Some of the fun of this is a personal preference thing, but it's maybe it's because I love Third Strike, but when you get hit with Gigas Breaker, in Third Strike, Hugo, it's his 360. That might be actually the name of his super. But it's it comes out super fast, and it's before you know it. It's they're already up in the air, and I think that looks sick as hell. It kind of bugs me, Potemkin Buster. He grabs them, sets them above his head. It doesn't look very good. It's Guilty Gear has some amazing animations, but that one kind of bugs me. So we might, we're gonna keep that in mind. Because I think, especially when you're a ninja type move, it's all of a sudden you're swept away. And that's going to look really hot. So we'll insert that there. Again, the animation on this one isn't going to be too much. And we're going to see if we want to use some more physics-based stuff for the spinning. Because a lot of time with an Azuna drop, they're spinning. And we'll get to it. So go ahead and Shift D. Here at the keyframe. Just go a few frames. Our IKs are... it doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to duplicate our RK keys here and just slide them over. That way our hands aren't moving around until we're ready to actually go back to the sword. Go here, and then we're going to shoot up like this. We want to show a bit of strain, like she's trying to start to lift. We could go like this, maybe. But that's almost like she's moving forward. So, sometimes it may feel like it makes sense, a certain gesture, but really, take a moment to look back and just see it's okay, what direction does it look like they're moving? So here it looks like she's still moving up pretty good. Gonna go ahead and lower her arms so that way she's lifting up. Insert those with I. We're doing more something like that. The tweening there's a little bit weird, but it's not a big deal. Look from the front. Again, this is more ninja-like. Let's go ahead and change her stance a bit. Instead of this squat, power lift sort of pose. Let's bring her feet in. Maybe even in a bit of a sort of offset here, she just slid in. A little more sneaky-like. So it's boom. And you don't have to do it sort of super close frame by frame. If you want to sort of get your main pose first, which is what I'm sort of feeling now. So let's, instead of doing what we were doing before, let's get that sort of grapple going first. She's looking a little weird there. Let's clear these poses. See what our defaults are. And we were about over here, I think. Insert on all those. Whoops. How about A insert instead? So we've got to think. Generally, they're holding them real close. It's real similar to a suplex. They hold them close like this. I found, I was doing it real realistic at first, where she was holding her wrist, because that's generally that's a good power grip in grappling. You don't want to interlace your fingers. You want to grab your own wrist, And then you can kind of clamp like your other hand around that other arm. But it made it a little too tight. And then I tried it in Third Strike, like Alex. He's doing some of this, and it looks great in Third Strike. To sort of be a little more universal, so you could be grappling anyone, but it just doesn't look very strong. And so I found this, like looking in between of those two. And we're going to be pretty close. I might fudge it a little bit just for the nature of it. Again, we want it to be universal. She's for our game, for Citadel Deep, because she's going to be fighting monsters like alligators and octopi and skeletons and giant dogs, and and we want to have something that can match all of that without too much work. I'm just right-clicking and dragging to do these bones. This is the elbow one. I'm going to hold it a little bit tighter. It's sort of the nature of that move. It looks... And if this doesn't work, then we'll just fix it later. So AI, get the whole thing. Again, we're thinking about doing that, like, maybe our, like, during the grapple pose. So let's really get that motion. So what Zuna drop, like I keep talking like everyone knows what that is a sort of archetypical ninja move where they grab an enemy either out of the air or they jump into the air and they hold them tight and against their chest, fly up in the air, come back down and slam them on their dome, and it's super cool. And so we want to create that motion like they're moving up. Trying to think how their feet look. I was trying to avoid cheating, looking at anything. That way we can have a little bit more of our own style. Don't feel like you ever need to do that. I mentioned last time, copy. Like, just do it. Do your best to add your own style. I feel a little bad. I see a lot of like indie like fighting games, and I'm like, oh, that's from that's K-Dash's kick. This is Ralph's back fist, or not Ralph. Is it Clark? No, it's Ralph, right? There's like some really, really good games out there, like indie fighting games, and like, that's Relento's neutral. Like, why not do something a little bit different? It's a little too close. So, sorry, that was kind of a hard call out there. I didn't mean to, but maybe that comes from a place of a critique. Let's say that. Like, I really. I want art to progress, and I want us all to get really good. So that's looking all right. And a lot of the character, this is going to come from the full motion, the interaction between the two characters. But we want a posture that makes it like she's really flying up in the air and it looks cool. Even go something like this, like with her feet behind her. Again, she's going to be in the air. So... And, animation's a process. So as we're going to do this, we're going to put it in the game, we're going to find mistakes. And like I mentioned before, and I didn't finish my thought, this thus ends the implementation phase. At this point on, the rest of this video is going to be animation. And so if you have that down, it's okay. And sorry, it's going to take us a bit before we get to the implementation in the game, which is like the exciting part. You can also see here, for this particular one that I copied, I have like a big offset here. That's why else like that is kind of nice. Let's say you have this motion that you create with the grapple pivot, if we're doing like a different move, but you need to offset it a bit. It's nice to be able to do that as well. Just sort of change the position, outside of any like character specific ones, like for the large characters, which I ended up having to do. I'm like, this looks great, but they're just like in a weird spot, even though every other one I did like just maintain the regular point. It just was nice to have just that offset there. So, insert all those, check the chat. Are you doing a Zuna drop where they first throw the victim up the air, leap, catch, and drop? Well, we could have that too. But no, we're doing the one where they grab them up. But we can do both. We can, especially after we have this animation, we can do one where, we could have a throw where we throw them at the air, or maybe Kage style, where we Tomoe Nage them up in the air and then jump up and grab them, or maybe even teleport to them. But I also don't want to give away too much of the game, like some of the movesets. I say that, but it's there's only 8 people watching this the majority of the players of this game aren't going to necessarily have seen these videos. So we'll come up like that. Then we got to decide. So that part's kind of fun. We have to decide like what the, basically it's like grab, set, jump, and then come back down. So, and just easy way would just be. I did a really poor job of parenting and like hierarchying my armature here. So there's going to be some weird corrections that I have to do that hopefully you won't be doing in your own game. But basically, go up and then we come down. So, I mean, this is basically it. It's a little silly. That's almost why those moves are cool. A lot of ninja moves are a little bit silly. Take a look at Naruto. I mean, I think that's why it's so cool. They're not afraid to be silly. Or Yoshimitsu, like he's one of my favorite characters of all time. He's such a weirdo, but he's also really cool. So we can check the tween is going to be a little whack, but that's also going to be some of the fun. Like, that's one point where we can have some style to it. Where she gets up here, maybe we flip a little bit. Like we could do like a big old flip, or we could have like a real dramatic sort of like pull, like right here, where we're really pulling their weight around, where we like pause in the air, and then slam back down. What if you want more like Kirby or Hanzo, where they just like sneak them up and slam them down real fast? That's all a style thing. Come back down. And I'm going to just click between these two and sort of check. This is a move where it's like really physics-based, not only like in the motion. Shoot, I'm all tangled up, sorry. But, we want it so that the impact, that we can loop the aerial state. I mentioned that, like where we were parabombing them down the steps and stuff, where the impact doesn't necessarily finish until they get on the ground. A way to smooth that out to make sure it still looks impactful is for this. Generally, you want to sort of keep it, the character's in the air, but really you don't change where they are in the animation necessarily. Like here, your jump animation might even be this low, even though they'd be in the air, like they're higher. Do you know what I'm saying? So by keeping them up higher, it's a give and take, unfortunately. And this is just from my experience. But when they're up higher, this is her ground, like right here, this bone, root bone. In the game, that's about where her feet are. Like her collision, her character controller collider. So when this hits, then she's in grounded state. And if we have a loop that, will hold the animation, hold the attack event, we'll loop until we hit the ground, then the next frame, we can finish the fall. If that's low to the ground, it doesn't look good. That's kind of what we had with the powerbomb. And so if you have a pose that they're up in the air a little bit more, then, we can loop up here, and then once we hit the ground, we don't have any more physics up and down to go, but we have the animation to cheat it. So now, we can go down and then finish it out and make it look cool. So I almost want to just like throw it in the game. So what we got going, we're going to finish. So, and we're just going to have a loop right here. So it doesn't have to be that interesting. And again, I want to get in the game and see what some of our problems are already. We come down and we need to decide on a pose generally from here to here. So it's like we get grounded. 1, 2. Yeah, we only want like 2 steps about, maybe even 1. I'm trying to think like how they even like hold them when we do those sorts of moves. And like how we get out of it. You can do like a dope flip out of it. I really want to cheat now. I'm sorry. Let's do it. Man, this is hard to like, get like content. So we'll not go to YouTube. Let's like um, let's go to like Dust Loop. Just the content ID stuff has just been really hard lately. And it's not a big deal. Like you just say, hey, you know, I've had tons of videos like get it. Even with no audio, it's just a pain. And like it's in the small square on the screen. Anyway, so let's look at Answer. He's Chip's assistant. He's also a dope ninja, and he has an Azuna drop. And I thought they had all the animations on here. What's his called, just in case? Is that it? Yeah, tax write-off. Let's see. Guilty Gear Answer tax. Right, I didn't know that was the name of that move. It's funny. You get it? I know he kicks him up in the air, kind of like bang. Is this animated? Normally they have all the animations on here. They had all of Biken, so I thought that they would have... Oh, am I in frame data? Oh my god. Please forgive me. Here we go. See if we can get a good pose for it. No, we don't. Sometimes they have it animated when you click on it. Sorry, hit sort of a wall here. Okay, let's cheat. Turn off the sound. Don't let anybody know. Wow. Do I have this in slow motion or is it already? So let's see. What does he do? He grabs him, goes up in the air, spins around. Oh, he's just sitting there like that. And they're a bit lower. And he just jumps out of it. So for something a little more exciting than that. But that honestly helps. I was feeling a little bit like, how exactly do they land, you know? Oops. Here. And again, we're going to clean this up. And so really on that impact one, I wish she was a little bit closer. More forward. Again, we'll correct some of that stuff. She's like that. Did I close that window? I'm embarrassed. I closed it quickly because I was embarrassed that I was like cheating. Let's see how he's resting exactly. Oh, so he has like his hands. He kind of like lets go. I wonder like how Hanzo does his. His hands are kind of behind there. Kind of goes down. And I know you can do like almost like a suplex. That's kind of how Kirby does his, I believe. He's a little more like... I mean, he's a little puffball, so it's not like he has the exact sort of animation. But his is more kind of like that, I think. But really, it's just feet flapping behind him, so... But there's something cool about kind of like a tombstone pile driver where, you know, the thing's staying like just straight up and down, sort of gives it its own unique feel. Let's sort of do this. If I close it again, I was gonna be so pissed. So he has his like hands above his head. We will try sort of our own thing. Okay, so now let's do that grapple point. So she grabs him up. They start to get close. We might have to adjust this a bit. I think we probably want them to be... This part's going to be a pain. It always is. So I'm deleting all these other ones. And this is just a grapple point. Sort of like an offset. So it can... I just want it to be pretty much the same throughout. Did I not bring it close? Oh, I know what I thought. Didn't mean to delete that one. Up here. So let's bring that in. Again, we're going to have to check it against the game. We're going to be going back and forth. Right here. And we're keeping them close. And go ahead and just delete all those. So that way we just sort of have that as our foundation, and then we'll make adjustments from there. Boom, that's like so generic looking, but it'll look cool. And then we're not even going to bother. We're just going to sort of blend out of it. So let's save. We're just going to see how that looks in general. There's going to be some really game-specific stuff here again. It's loading right now because we had an animation on how like I do animations and things. You're also going to see how a little bit clunky and clumsy my implementation is for animations, and I need to redo it, but I don't have a good solution yet. So, all right, Yosh, thank you for everything. So, extra Annie, go back in there. So first we have to actually import that. I don't know what it is when I first make a character. I know there's a reason. I just don't know what it is. It'll import these automatically. But after a while, once I make certain changes, I don't know if it's like, I don't know what it is, like some of these settings, or I don't know. But after a while, it doesn't do it automatically anymore. So you have to go in there, hit new animation, default take. We just call it Tutorial Slam for now. Take a look here. It's a little whack, but it's going to be good in the end. We might even make like a new pose where like, or excuse me, a new script where it will loop as long as our velocity is positive, and then it'll let go, and then it'll loop again until we hit the ground. So that might be kind of cool. So we'll hit apply there. Ignore a lot of the next few steps. It's really game specific, except for like adding it to our animator, which we'll do. It's still loading. This is the problem, like I mentioned, why I have like multiple Blender files, because after you start getting a lot of animations, it gets really slow. Sorry, my mouse is all funky. It's like double clicking when I don't want it sometimes. So let's find Kate. See all Kate's animations. There's so many. It's not necessarily a good thing. Let's go ahead and duplicate that one. It doesn't matter too much. Call it Tut Slam. Come on and Tut Slam. And we have some like presets already that is just sort of universal to my implementation. So the next thing is we already have shoot, but we need to take this slam action, duplicate it, and call it Tutorial Slam. And then I have this like further sort of action thing. Oh, we might not need it because of, okay, yeah, we won't need it because we'll just do it off of shoot. You know, the grapple shoot. So let's bring that up. So that actually saved us a step. It's the tiny step, but I mean, it was kind of nice. Like, it's a nice surprise. So we grab, and then we jump right here. I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 20, 30, 40. It's like 1/8 of the way in there. Actually going to delete a lot of these. Sorry, I shortened this, and I'm like, so that's grappling. It's front velocity. We won't need that. Hopefully I can just get rid of all. Excuse me. Oh, I changed my buttons around recently, so I need to redo how this works because, oh yeah, invincible time. Oh, and these are all X'd out anyway. So again, this is really game specific. Sorry. We'll go ahead and delete all those. And impact, it's pretty fast. A third of the way in. And this thing's about 100 frames. That's about the same. So we'll hit that, and then we'll work with it and get it going. Dude, excuse me. Oh, I know what I did. I didn't assign the animation. I name it just Tut Slam, yeah. You can see how there's like some back and forth here between the animator and like my own system, and it's don't copy that. Like I'm hoping to merge all these sort of aspects of it. Grab them. Kind of working already. So we'll do, first of all, let's add a jump and then a loop. So we can get that sort of basic. And again, like I have this sort of grapple start up here, but I mean, what I like about Zuna drops is like when they just like shoot right up like Kirby. I think that's so sick. So for now, we'll just do it how we have it in our animation, but set jump. 0.5 is pretty high. We're going to make it ridiculous probably by the end of it just for fun. So I'll have that jump. Excuse me. So that's already kind of cool. And that 0.5 kind of matches already. We're going to add another event. Velocity Y, it's like a reverse jump. Again, this is all very game specific, so I'm sorry. Where we go? Negative instead. Actually, we'll probably hold that. I don't know if we need to hold it that much, but add another event to loop, air loop. So as long as we're in the air, it will loop. We want it to be on that frame 20. That way we keep our negative velocity. You know, you could use gravity, and there's other settings like where you can turn off terminal velocity. Maybe that will just be good enough for you. So we'll see. And we're going to have to do some fidgeting here. The air loop script is a little weird right now. So yeah, see, that was a little whack. That came out too fast. Let's get, excuse me, a-hole. So we'll turn off that down one and just see what it looks like when we just loop first. So it's not going to look very good when we're coming down, but at least we'll loop until we come down. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing this a few times as I think. Whoops, come here. Oh my God, why? No, there's too many coming. So we go up. Grab them like normal. And that pose is pretty good. And yeah, she jumps right away. That's so dope. So we're going to want to change our animation to have that right away too. Dude, there's even like, this is for when you get a lucky critical. That's just kind of funny. It looks ninja-like with the, you know, like flower petals and stuff. See, like we can do belly to belly, or we might want to flip them around, like kind of like Yoshimitsu's where they're holding them from behind. That's a little more ninja-like. So we might copy it because it's like that, but also because we love Yoshimitsu so much. We're going up. The animation's really fast. You probably don't need to add much character more to Kate in this case. But if you wanted to make it like really next level, then we would probably fix that a little bit. So they're coming down already, which isn't great. Oh, because it's looping right now. So we probably want to push our loop. That's what I was trying to get at here. Pushing it to 5 frames up. That might not be enough. We might need like 20 or so. Let's go like 35. They impact at 32 though, so it can't be that. Let's do like 30. So yeah, that's looking really weak, but it's almost there, you know what I'm saying? It looks really sort of silly. Go higher. Let's really get stupid. And what I really want, so this is starting to get really like, it's good, but it's gonna get fidgety. Like That's not the right word, but we want it to go up and then down really fast. So right now we're really sort of beholden to a little bit more realistic physics. You know, we have this initial push off, but then we don't have any like velocity as we go up, really. So that was a little stupid looking. Not sure why. Oh, the loop didn't go all the way. For some reason, that is not. Oh, I have it turned off. Gosh, I'm silly. Yeah, so something like that, but we want to go even higher. See, we're getting there. And let's try a plus equals instead. So it's going to give a bit of a pause, but it's also going to be really strong still. Oh my god. Ugh! We're almost there. That's so sick. And I think we might want to do some plus equals with the grab too. This will help us keep like our forward momentum too. Rise through the roof. That's again a engine specific thing, not Unity engine, but my engine. So the up and down's a little wonky still, but the rate at which it goes up is pretty dope. And you know, you kind of an important thing about throws is to like sort of see that gesture of like them being sort of under your control. That's why the spin is kind of nice with the Izuna drop. We'll be doing that. Yeah, she goes up really high, and then we come down like really hard. The loop spot's actually pretty nice though. Trying to think, like, is it just that this is a little too... Oh man. Whoops. I think I want to hold this a little bit more. Like 0.8 again. Let's see. That's almost there. Yeah, that's kind of cool in its own way. And you might want the opposite, like Yoshimitsu doesn't come down that hard, not like Kirby. Maybe you want something like that. You may even want like a bit of delay up in the air. Trying to think how we could get that. I think for a sec. Sorry, just thinking. This is how you do art. You look at the thing over and over again, especially when you're doing animations. It's pretty cool. Especially when she holds that pose. So I'm going to do that first. Because it's something I know that I like. So, or that I know how I can. I'm just going to have her hold that. You don't want to do too much like back and forth unless... You know, you don't have too many animations because, again, it takes a minute to load. It's kind of a huge pain. You can hear my computer chugging, maybe even. Boop-a-doop-bop. Might do a few throws. Again, the commentary will probably become a little bit weak. Most of the knowledge is here. Now we're... So we hold that, it's kind of cool. There's too many. Oh no, we got hit out of it, you fucker. So we may even delay that jump a bit. As much as I said, I like when they go straight up. You know, I'm not always right from the beginning. Delay this still. Even have that. See where that takes us. Whoops, wrong move. See, that looks... What's the problem? Problem is... Whoops. I think. So we grab them. Jump in the air. This doesn't match the physics very well. That's why I was thinking like we would have like an ascending loop that would hold it. Don't necessarily want to get into making a new script, but it wouldn't be that bad. Game design wise, she flies out of the screen. So we would either want a camera event to follow her more closely, or we just need to tone it down a bit, which breaks my heart even saying that out loud. So. But clarity is cooler than impact, so just keep that in mind. Clarity creates better game feel than, like juicy things. And I hate that term, juiciness. I think it's really dumb. Sorry. Bring them down. We have a lot of things we need to clean up. We do want to reverse their position, the enemy being grappled position. This dumb upside down, like I say dumb in a good way, like I think that looks cool. They're a little too close, even for, see they're way off screen. That's weak. We don't want that. We need to fix that. So firstly, our grapple pivot doesn't change too much. So we can delete those keys. Push it out a bit so they're a little bit out here. Slide this one a little bit. Save that. We also need to flip them around the x-axis, and this is where it can get a little confusing, but I needed to show it. So I believe we need to do, for the grapple point, what do they have for the suplex? Let's look. Go ahead and copy that. Basically, I'm rotating it certain ways, but I'm going to bring it back to here. Okay, we'll see where that takes us. Again, if you have a throw idea, let me know. What was I going to do? I wanted like a backdrop maybe. God, I had a good throw in mind. I want to do like a DDT as well, but that was like, that's where we're going to need to like do like a reverse grapple, which I might do next week, where it's, you sort of get affected by the enemy state. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of like hanging off of them, and then that sort of switches as like the momentum like changes to your weight or your movement. I can't think of one. Looking cool. I guess I missed the code explanation. Yeah, we'll go back. We're just waiting anyway. But these are always uploaded. Code explanation's real simple. You're going to have your own state for like hit stuns and things. It's really game specific. But the main thing is that the attacking character has a grapple pivot, which we just assign in here. It's just 2 bones. It just helps you animate it. I parent it to the character, so it like follows along with her, and then it also follows along like with the physics in the game. I will continue on, but I'm trying to do 2 things at once now. And then the enemy character, like while they're in that state, they follow with their velocity to those grapple points. So we don't necessarily parent it to it. It's really similar to parenting, but we take our position, the victim's position, minus, the target position, which is like this point on the person attacking us, minus our position, and we create a velocity. That way our collisions are still detected, so that way we won't get thrown through walls and things like that and get clipped out of bounds or whatever. And we do the same thing with the rotation. Exact same thing, quaternion, smooth lerp, same thing, and that's what we're adjusting here. We're adjusting that rotation, and hopefully it adds up. So it's looking pretty good. But again, we're going to make some adjustments to make it awesome. So there, that's a little whack. So on that startup one, we may want it to start further out. That way we just have some blending. And that's, I think, why I had it like that on the other animations. So that way they'll slide in a little bit. So it's a little more smooth. As we go, let's actually check it in the scene. That's already pretty awesome. We're gonna want to push him out a little bit more, and then we're gonna rotate him around this way too. So fix that. That's pretty cool looking though, and that's what I'm trying to get at is like you just use your default animations. You know, we're not doing anything new. That's looking a little weird. That's them catching up. You know, because we have, like I mentioned here, a smoothness here. And we may want to assign that per attack. So right there, that happens really fast. You might not even notice it in gameplay, but it looked a little whack. You know, we may want to correct that. You can see them like catching up. Like they went down and they're coming back up. That's not ideal. But right there, you know, that's like the pose we want. We're going to be shooting for that. But then they get a little too close as it catches up all the way. Bring them down. And, you know, it's your game. Like whatever you think looks cool. Boom, pop out, sort of a generic slam effect. They slam on the ground there. You can do like, you know, if we make her spin, we can do some like, they do it in Guilty Gear 2, but I think it was really first seen like in Street Fighter 4 where Zangief, as the enemy hit the ground, they like kept spinning, even though they're like dug into the ground. It's so badass. We kind of get pushed out. That's just a physics thing. You may want to have some settings where your push out is ignored. It generally is. That's another thing. Like I ignore the push out. If you have that in your game, that's like sort of character collision. That's not necessarily super hard collision, but it just keeps enemies, you know, objects apart. The push out sort of kicks in there. Maybe we don't want that. But if we do something where they like pop out and, you know, fly in the air like we had some other moves, might do that. So let's do it again so we can sort of adjust our... That's pretty cool. So we want to rotate them forward and we want to lift them up. We want their head to hit the ground before ours. So looking cool. Guess what's the code? So hopefully that explains the code. It's real simple. You know, while they're... It's just like a normal hit state. You know, I use a hit stun. The hit stun counts down. Pretty standard for at least fighting games, but that's how I do in my games. But then we have different grapple, or excuse me, like hit effects. I call them, it's called launch type in my game, but it's whatever it would be for you. And while they're in hit stun, you know, they're in the getting hit, that's their action. And depending on, you know, I have a bunch of different shit, like where if they're skidding or whatever. But basically you just follow those animations. And then these sort of, these sorts of, like the actual pose, you know, how their arms are out like that. It's however you implement it in your game to set that sprite if it's 2D, or set that animation, even if it's 2D, if it's an animation. And that's, you know, determined by the grapple, the initial grapple, and sort of, I don't know, for now, I have both, but I'm just using a generic one, so it's almost always this pose. And then I just adjust their posture with like rotations and stuff, which we're going to do right now. So the initial one, hopefully that's, well, we should probably. So hopefully, again, this is going to be a little, unfortunately, and there's probably a way to set it up, and I did my best. There's a sort of a disconnect. It's not, their X, Y, and Z rotation isn't always going to be exactly, you know, we just can't do like, you know, grapple target dot rotation equals, you know, our rotation equals that. It doesn't always, you have to do some adjustments. And then, depending on the move, you know, we're going to do these adjustments. So we want them up higher. Actually going to overdo it a bit. So we're going to go up 2. And this is another reason why that offset is good, because we want them higher almost always, but that's not necessarily going to translate. Did I rotate it? I didn't. Let's do that first. So let's say, how many degrees? So do we want more like that, or do we want more like this? So it's maybe 30. Can't remember if it's done by like 15 or 10 per snap, but I think it's a little bit different than this one. I guess I'll just try that. Paste it into all of our frames here, and then we'll do that offset too. I think 2 is good. I mentioned how like the smoothing right here is a little whack. You could do some corrections here too. You could use the animation to correct that. We can just go ahead and do this. And actually, the tweening seems okay. So, although the it's rotating, so I don't necessarily want to do that. We'll give that a shot. Do you detect if the enemy gets stuck on anything midair? No. That's just something you're gonna have to live with. It does happen, but they're always like getting pushed towards your velocity. I think it's just not worth it. If you had something that was consistent, like if you had a game that had a lot of environment, I think I totally fucked that up. Oh, it might be all right. Okay, let's take a look. Were there maybe a lot of breakable stuff? If you're doing like a game where you know, it's like a lot of internal environments and you're throwing people through tables and stuff. Yeah, they're way too far forward. Yeah, 85 was big. I don't know why I went that hard. They're a little, oh no, they're fine. 2 snaps up seems a little high, but I think if we change the, I mean, it looks good while they're coming up. You may want that. You may want it where they're kind of slouching down as they come up, and then as we go down, maybe they get up higher. Anyway, to answer the question, they can get caught on stuff. Because, like, I'm sure that's why you asked it. It's like maybe, like, we hit a pole right here, and they get caught behind it. And so they're going to be kind of trying to suck in there. It's just the nature of it. If you wanted to fix it, you would just detect if they were too far away for a couple of frames, and then cancel the throw, or just teleport them to it. But, yeah, like you mentioned, like, using velocities is important. Just sort of keep pushing them towards that. You know, I don't soften that at all right here. I had the option to soften it, but it looked better if it was just 1-to-1. And I mentioned before that there's some softness because, excuse me, it's catching up. Like, I update and then it looks at that position, and so it's like 1 frame behind in a sense, but that's fine. It looks smooth and it looks good. So right there is where we need to kind of like, there's some wacky stuff happening there. Doesn't look great, but undo all that. $85 was too much. What did I say initially? 30? So I think 35 could be good. It's hard to tell. It's like, let's do 40. He was a little high, but again, I think that's good. I think it's better than too low. So you can also just do it like this. Shift D, drag it over. Give that a shot. And it's loading, unfortunately, again. So, I mean, that's what I did in Aces Wild. Like, there were dope throws and stuff, but it didn't fit the game. Aces Wild 2, however. But in this game's about like having a variety of moves, and it's just really fun, like flying through the air and pulling enemies around. And all right, so let's give it a shot. So yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Ow, you jerk. Whoops, wrong button. Ow. So they're a little high, but as they catch up, see, that's looking hot. All right, so that's good. And we'll check it against some other enemies too to see if we can make it. They're still a little close there. Oh, that's because I think it was turning already. Yeah, I think like we were right here. They were getting pushed over a bit. So here, like again, we may want to just correct it ourselves. Let's go ahead and see how we could do that. And again, we didn't really do any animating here. Like this is just a simple tween and it looks like shit. We're gonna want to change that a bit. Yeah, you can see like she's here and then she like kind of goes forward. It doesn't feel very good. I did not mean to save it. Now we have to wait. Sorry. And grabs, I've been avoiding. Yeah, and you can do like, I don't know if y'all have been here. It's not just like wrestling type moves. You can have moves where you like push enemies to the side. That's going to be, well, it's a mechanic I had been meaning to implement. We'll see. I mean, the throws are obviously here, but there's sort of a pushing off of blocks and stuff. Anyway, let's not get into that. So that's not looking too bad. That's pretty cool. You know, those tweens are shitty, but... Whoops. I have... The follow-up to that is set, so it's supposed to be for the suplex, but we're just doing it to test these. So let's get really cool. Boom. It's pretty dope. And while I think I'm going to do some fun stuff, we're going to add just our basic movement script. Whoops. Keep doing that. I changed my buttons around, so I want a little bit more. So you can kind of move around. That looks a little whack. We may want it so like, well, that looks pretty cool. That's pretty sweet. Whoops. Again, that's why I like the physics part's really fun, because that looks a little weird. But that's good. Like, we want to find weird stuff because that means we know how to like make it better. I think that's just because the movement here. When's the jump? Oh, frame 12. I thought I put it. Okay. These assholes coming at me. Oh, we grabbed two. That's a bug. I'm trying to fix it, but sometimes you grab two. I think one fell out though. But whoops. Oh, well. Just thinking, like, this again, this is just the nature of art. Just trying to see how to make it better. Let's fight down here. Whoops. Kick the golf ball. Stop it. Why are there golf balls in here? Well, that's a secret. So I think, similar to the suplex, I want to stuff our initial velocity, our lateral velocity. So as soon as we grab them, I want to dampen it really hard. So it's like we get this like stiff like snap. You'll see what I mean here in a sec. So we're going to multiply it for 6 frames times 0.8. And that's our lateral velocity, not our up and down, but like our, you know, our sort of movement velocity. Yeah, it's a little harsh, but you can see how she like stops, gives you a little more sort of like I'm in control situation. Again, it's going to depend on the move. Like some moves, like you want to hold that velocity. Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth. I know I want her to stand up faster. Let's pull those in. It's gonna tween really hard though. Like, we do this. Pull it in. God, she like pushes forward. That looks so shitty. So we're about right here. I meant to do. Should have selected. And we end like it's. Yeah, she goes forward a bunch. It looks dumb. So that's one thing we can correct it now. So grab Y. And we could, well, I do that so much where I like think I'm on the right frame, but I'm like one frame off. And I do like spend like 3 minutes like doing an animation. It's like, oh, you're on the wrong spot, and everything's tweened wrong now. Anyway, little complaint. We could scrunch her down in at this point. Do a little bit of a stretch and squash action. And just like dig her face into the ground a little bit. I was really weird. I was on the wrong frame again. I was like, oh my god, did I do it? And then we'll copy that over because we have that new one. If you have any questions, let me know, or if just something you want to see, or and if you don't, that's cool too. Take a sip of water here. I'm losing my voice. Sorry about the loading. Again, if y'all know a better way of, it's like I wish you could just export single animations, like somehow, but I don't know, it'd still be in the file, but like you would export it. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of what it is, but it's, I don't know. Maybe that's Unity's fault, and maybe I have an old Unity. I haven't upgraded in maybe even 2 years. So it's still a little weird. I like the idea actually of maybe, even though it's nice to have that like, well, whoops, that forward momentum. Like, let's make it more like suplex-like, and do a front velocity. Again, this is all game specific, so sorry. I'll just have to find an implementation that works for you, or use your own implementations. And is that gonna be too much? Oh, I meant to make that negative. I was like, that looks like shit. So that's kind of cool. Maybe dampen that a bit. Maybe just do like 0.1. It's still looking a little whack. I don't like that. I like the idea, so we'll just turn it off. What don't I like? Trying to think here. Like, I mean, there's two things. One is that we could emphasize that grab more, like when it hits. Or we can do, like I mentioned, what I like, where it happens really fast. We can kind of cheat and just like, the animation won't match it yet, but you fuckers. Excuse my language, sorry. See, like, that's hot. Like, I love that. Just like grab him right away. Ow. Oh, did the wrong move. Something like that. You know, there's also the spin, which I thought about doing. I'm going to have to make a new script. Right now, my loop just copies the spot that it's in. You know, it just delays it. But it would also be nice to have a loop, because if we have like a spinning animation where she's rotating, we're going to want a way to loop that until we hit the ground. And part of it is still this. It just looks like shit. And we haven't tried. It's not like we're struggling with this part. It's just not sure what to do. I mean, I guess because any corrections isn't going to correct the motion very much. It's going to correct her animation, but it's not gonna, you know, like the real impact of it is not going to be too important. I was like, does that work? No. Just thinking. Just looking at this sick art style. Thank you. It's nice to hear. Glad you like it. I like it too. So I mean, there's like all sorts of cool stuff we could do. I want to kind of show off the physics, like the rolling type stuff. Because like from here, we could spin this way a bunch. That would be fucking badass. Like we could do that instead of doing like the classic. So let's make a backup of this. Kate Izuna plane. And what's cool is like, you know, what I think's cool is like a lot of these like adjustments that we make just in the animation, you don't have to like, because they just follow this bone, you don't have to do much once it, you know, like in the game as you test. So I was thinking Zuna drop, but I like the idea of like one of these. It's like we jump up in the air, sort of set ourselves up, and then just start spinning as we come down. Then we slam them in the ground. Let's do it. It's going to be silly and it's going to be awesome. So we'll make a new move. So we jump up. I wish this lagged a bit. They come up so fast, it doesn't, you don't see the animation that much. I don't know. I feel it in my heart, so I'm going to go ahead. So it matters. Let me pull them in. So I'm going to do that for now. Got to think. So we come up. Or it's like, do we start spinning right away? I like the idea of sort of pausing here. We slowly roll back. And then it like really kicks into gear and we start spinning until we land on the ground like that. So we have that backup, so we can just start. So I like this pose right here. I mean, it's really similar to the suplex, but it's like, I can't get enough of it. So you're going to see some of the shortfalls I mentioned, shortcomings of the way I implemented my armature. So like my rotations and stuff. When I do like full body rotations, I have to do it a really annoying way. So she's back here. Go up in the air. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So we want to find a good sort of rotation. Like, do we want her to rotate around here? I'm going to go ahead and cursor. Oops. Is that what we want? This is going to be a really silly move. It's going to be sweet. Or do we want it more here? You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit more around the character. It can make a big difference. Like, you might think that, like, yo, this, it's like, that's the rotations. Like, we're throwing them around, but it's like, sometimes the non-obvious stuff is like what we want. I don't want that, though. So maybe like that, kind of in between. I like that. You do rotate, 60, enter. Might want to do 30. Again, like if you're like, why is he doing it this way? It's because of my armature and like some of the parenting. It's like, because they don't inherit the rotations like in a normal way, it gets all fudged up. Maybe I should have done 60. Maybe 30 is like too little. All right. Let's do 60. Just worried about the tweening. It might. Yeah, that should look good. Okay, rotate, 60, enter, insert, Shift D. R to rotate. I say rotate, but it's R, 60, enter, I. Shift D, click, R, 60, insert. Whoops, enter, insert. Come up. I don't know. We'll have to see. We can adjust it. Again, if you're just following along. Yo, can't stick around. Just want to jump in, say the game's looking sick, and looking forward to it. Thanks, Murph-a-Gator. Appreciate it. It's nice of you to stop by. I appreciate that. R60, enter, I do that so much. I want to pull my hair out. I don't go to like the right. Gone 60 or 360 yet? Not quite. Really, there's better ways to do this. It's just I fudged up her armature and I already have 2 animations to like redo it. And then, so we want to loop here. So we want to try and do, and you can do this. Another option, she's way in a weird spot. We might need to adjust that. Is you can do it sort of physics-based. Like I tried it, but I don't have good success. You know, the universal sort of pivot for each character is right here. Sometimes it's on here, kind of depends. And I say universal, but universal in my game. So you can go right here, and then you can just do your own like physics-based rotations, like in game, where you just sort of rotate the armature, and that can look really cool. And that's what I did, like in Aces Wild and stuff. Again, they didn't end up in the final game, but she's way off to the side. It's kind of, it won't matter too much, but it's just a little weird. There's a delay there, which if we do the physics right, it'll look good, but it might look bad. And then really just like on this next frame or two, we want to be like already in the ground. You can see she's rotating the wrong way. It's because we did all these rotations, so now we have to reverse some of our rotations. I don't know if there's a better way to do this. I feel like there's got to be, but I don't know what it is. So you go here, and how do you invert a rotation? So if you ever have this problem in Blender, what's happening? You know, we're rotating this way, and generally it's going to want to take like the shortest rotation. Even though it's a thorn on our side right now, we want to be able to rotate in either direction. If it only ever rotated towards the, you know, the shortest distance, it would be just a real pain. So in this case, it's actually rotating the other way. All of our bones are. So the tween here isn't right. So we need to reverse those. You can see right here, it kind of does the same thing. So we need to fix those. Let's go ahead and let's just hold it. See, it's like rotating the wrong way. So what you do, again, if there's a faster way, I don't know what it is. And it kind of stinks. But you right click on the bone, click on the rotation, and you negative all of them. So what I do is left, negative, tab, left, negative, tab, left, negative, tab, left, negative, tab. Or left, negative, enter. Does enter take you to the next one? Okay, cool. So anyway, that got, but right here, that's wrong. So here's where the problem arises. Like now you would have to do it for like all of them. Did I? Hold on. I think I might have confused myself. I mean, we need to do this, but okay, yeah, it's still on that one. Sorry, let's spread it out here so we can really see, and then we'll push it back so you can see it rotating the wrong way. Anyway, so we go negative all of these, and then hit insert. I may not have inserted it. Okay, cool. It's hard to say because it's actually on a lot of the bones. So if there's a way to invert a rotation without having to do that negative nonsense, let me know. And you might be able to do it with like the graph editing. It's like I have trouble with that. That's where you like can like really adjust like the tweening between these and stuff, like with the graph. So already you can see like her feet are doing the same thing. They're flopping around. We'll wait on that. And we'll hold that pose. So I copied that over, bring it back. Actually, probably like not even bother. And it's actually going to be smoother inside of Unity. This is at 24 frames per second. And really, like that doesn't mean much. It's just sort of the playback. So now we got to decide like what the impact looks like. So it's like, you know, our motion, right, is this clockwise rotation. So, you know, we could start by maybe it's like this. Do you know what I'm saying? So, oh my God, why? So it's like her weight kind of flies this way. Can sort of see how that would look. But it's kind of a weird pose because they're going to be right here. But you can see like the logic, right? And if we did it right, you know, there's always a way to make something work. I mean, not anything, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you really feel like that's like the look you want, then you can make it work. But I just don't know if that's necessarily what we want. But we want to make it sort of impactful. And we're not going to have that. We're going to have something else. But if she ended up doing that. Because they kind of fly out anyway. That's kind of the problem. Like, that's sort of like what we want, but it's a little weird. And now that I'm like, this is like really close. Anyway, it's thinking out loud. Okay, maybe I'll sneak in one grab. Do it. The important thing is, well, I'm not going to say important thing. I mean, it depends on your game. Again, for Aces Wild, it didn't matter. It's a really sort of loose game. I mean, you're just like a tiny character doing big punches and stuff's flying around everywhere. This is a little more tactile. I mean, I don't say tactile, but it's a little more sort of anatomical. You know, you have limbs and sort of tight. I can't think of the word. I'm trying to avoid the word intimate, but that's kind of like what it is. Like sort of intimate movement where it's a little more like focused. And, I mean, it's still over the top. That's sort of a revelation I've had recently where I was like feeling like I was like kind of holding back because I didn't want it to be like Aces Wild, but now I'm like, you know, we're doing the Zuma drops and stuff now, so I mean, that already looks cool, like, from here. Well, let's try that. We're kind of delaying, so. And then we probably will, like, just make a new script real quick, because I don't, or we'll update this other loop that I already have in here to have a, an offset. So we can, instead of just delaying by a frame, we could delay it by a dynamic value. Or by a variable, at the very least. And that way we can keep looping back to this frame here. Until we finally do not aerial, and we go boom. Alright, let's see how it looks. It's going to be a little weird at first. But maybe it's badass right away, who knows. Yeah, so we jump up way too high for the nature of that one now. I regret this already. I made this smaller, but now like the name doesn't show up as well. So I'm like, what script is which is obviously stupid. Okay, so we gotta find out. So she jumps. Again, we're gonna run into that problem where they don't necessarily rotate their rotation tweening doesn't or following, I guess would be, is dampened, and so they're not necessarily gonna fly around exactly how we want. Oh right, we way changed like the timing on this. I'm like, what's going on? So we want our jump loop to at least extend here probably. And we're going to make that impact a lot later. All right, let's try this. Whoop. Yeah, it looks so fucked up. It's going to look good when we get it, but... Go up. That looks pretty hot. I don't like how our knees come up, so... I was trying to correct something, but what we really want is like... There we go. And really what we want is like, there's too much going on right here. It's like we want to go zip real quick and then have like a little bit of drama here, and then we start spinning. And really, I mean, if we were doing it even simply, it's like immediately just, it should be this. Because that's like the drama of it, right? We got doing this like spinning suplex. Oops, forgot to save. Or did I? Just using collision box for protecting hits and grabs. I'm using my own. And then I'm regretting it recently. Regret's the wrong word. I'm realizing using the built-in Unity stuff would be better. I wanted it like to be like really dynamic. The problem is that when you use character controllers, you can't rotate them. Like you can rotate it, and the display may even show that, you know, like the pill. You know what I mean? Like for the character controller. Let's show it here. Gonna give it to me? Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. Right here, this pill right here, that's like the character controller collider. When you rotate it, it doesn't rotate. And I didn't like that. But now, you can see these other boxes, these are mine. This is just for display, but they're object-oriented bounding boxes. It's just an implementation I found online, and I'm using it. So it takes rotation and the size and stuff. It's creating a lot of garbage. I can fix that, I think. But I'm realizing now that for what I need in this game, spheres are a little bit better. I'm getting these problems where like I'll do like a launcher and they're way deep in my face. But for some reason, it's like, because of how the animation is or whatever, like they're hitboxes. And these hitboxes are giant. It just still happens. I mean, if you saw the hitboxes in Aces Wild, it's like, they're huge. And same here. It's like, even though they're giant, it's like if I get these weird rotations where like, and my attacks will miss. I'm like right here. We have these huge hitboxes, but stuff's still missing because of the rotation, and it's ending up being not helpful. So I'm gonna switch a bit to spheres, and they're really not dynamic. I probably to answer the other part of your question, they're just big boxes for each attack. So even if I might have like a big sweeping like sword attack, it's just a big box. But I would like to maybe use spheres or something, just use the Unity implementation for garbage collection purposes, because I'm having some issue with that too. So let's see here. So they weren't really spinning very well. So let's get to that spin right away, like I mentioned. There's tons of downtime right here. That is not what we want. Want a little delay here, but probably not even that much. Let's just like in Unity, like or other parts of Blender, you can use the same thing, bounding, box select, and so we'll do that. But yeah, and so like a grab, we'll just, there's like an initial, and you don't necessarily, I mean, this is game specific. I have some attacks that don't necessarily have I mean, you kind of need it, because like if you whiff the grab, then they're just going to go into the throw animation and it looks dumb. Like you've seen it probably if you've been watching them, where she does like a rolling suplex, and see, that's more what we want. But so now we can see like the motion. You might see that we don't necessarily like how the enemy is following us. I want to bring him down. And part of it, again, is that dampening. Let's just cheat real quick. So remember, I want that to be dynamic, or yeah, dynamic. An actual variable. No magic numbers, remember. I wonder if I should have stopped the stream so they have two separate videos, but it's okay. So now they're going to follow along really closely. They should. Sorry, I'm playing with one hand so I can pause it right after. So we shoot in, grab them, jump in the air immediately. She falls back. I kind of want to delay that a little bit. But now they're following around like 1-to-1 now, instead of there being a little bit of a damp. So now really the nature of these sorts of moves, you kind of want to find like where that rotation point is. Like, ours was here, right along her hips, but maybe more along in between the two would look a little bit better. Which is kind of what I thought, but it just didn't look good when we were doing it initially. Because, I mean, this looks pretty cool. So let's try and do that implementation where... See, that's what I mean. It's like if you have throws that are by themselves. So I do want to delay that a bit. And then get that loop in there. And again, like we might want it where like we just right away go into the flips. It might look cooler. But let's adjust that script. So we have loop action, and it's actually air loop. So we're not taking any variables, so we could definitely do that. Go ahead and do that. Again, this is game specific, so whoops. I have these generic events. may pass on, values and things and objects you can pass right here. And we'll go ahead and take value. And if val equals 0, that'll be like a default. And val equals, is that where I want the 1? Just right there? That should work. That should be my multiplier. It's a little weird. So base step, it's character speed. Sorry, this implementation's weird. And this is really game specific. It's not gonna. So the base speed of the action and the character speed. And a one-shot speed bonus, which is like, have effects that like make you attack faster and stuff. See, here's going to be a little bit tricky because we need it to loop. We don't want it to just change the anti-speed. We actually need it to loop. That's going to be a bit tricky. Again, because my events and my animations are like disjointed and they kind of just sort of like follow each other. It's a little bit of a shoot. Man, I feel like we just hit a big bump. I have to think. Okay. Well, let's do the animation first. That's okay. Current action time -6. So base step is character speed. That's 1 frame. Okay, so this should be our multiplier. So I was thinking it would be a little bit different, but hopefully I could just do this. So we're subtracting it, but then we need to do that same thing. Because we're just setting the anti-speed, we're not setting the animation point, which is what I used to do. I mean, we can still do it, I have to figure out the math now, and I wasn't expecting to have to do, not that I'm bad at math. Sorry, this part's boring. So we got that. Yes, we want to know the local time. Unless is that it? That's experimental. Those usually don't work so hot. I think you just do .play. I think we can get it. So state name, current action dot animation name, I think. Layer 0, and the time is gonna be our current time minus an amount. So hopefully this works. Get playback time. I think that's it. I don't know if that's it. Sorry, the animation stuff in Unity is like really dense. Start losing viewers. That's okay. Show you the most important trick in game development. Unity get current animation time. That's what I thought. I knew it was like you had to get the current state info. Yeah. Wouldn't straight up copy it. So we're going to set. So what this is going to do is just going to get our current time and then set it to that. So what we need to do is subtract. There's going to be some troubleshooting here. I have to do some stupid math. Again, it's like there's so much disjoint and like, because I wanted to work in frames, right? And so I do all this dumb math so I can just do it based on frames because it's just how I learned. But now there's always this like back and forth math. It's like, it's annoying. This is really bad game design, so don't do it. So how much do we subtract? So what does one frame equal? One frame is equal to current action dot length in frames times current action dot length, or excuse me, current action dot clip length times how many frames. Sorry, I love using parentheses. And that's going to be value. So value is in frames. Got to remember that. Let's see if it works. Save that. Bippity bop. So how many frames back do we want? And again, here's where it gets extra annoying because this is 60 clicks at 24 frames per second. Our game runs at 60 frames per second and it's 100 frames in length. So it's like there's all this dumb math all the time. It's annoying. You know, doing 60 helps though, even though it's 24 frames per second. It's going to be faster in Unity, but it's still going to be based on seconds, which is what Unity's is. So let's see. So where's our loop? It's here. So let's try it. What's our guess? So it's 17. Oh my God. Should be about 40 frames. Seems too big, especially because we're at, I think it's like, I did that a little bit wrong. I think I needed to like divide by 100. This is so bad. I'm sorry. I mean, it seems almost right, but I don't know. Let's say 30. The problem, fuck. Sorry, excuse my language. And again, and this is one of the reasons actually why I want the animation and the event to be a little bit different. We want to loop the animation, but let's say we hit the ground right here. We want to pop right here. This might be a little more complicated. Damn it. Why did I do this? Damn it. I think it gave us a loop, though. Oh, I don't think it did. Oh, it went way back to the beginning. My math's wrong. We're getting playtime 0, 100%. I don't know. You might just have to bail on this, unfortunately. Hate to leave on a sour note. you know, the nature of it is there. I was hoping we get a cool attack going, but it is what it is. It's just gonna not be that interesting to fix that. It's gonna take a long time. It's something I need, but you know, the nature of the lesson is there, I believe. So let's rename this one. Spin. Set a plane. Name them their own names. And that way we have the one that at least looks alright. I have to readjust these, but yeah, if you ever have any questions, I'm now at Culture Attack everywhere, I believe, except for my Gmail, which is different. Yeah, we're at Culture Attack on Twitter and Patreon and Twitch. Any questions, let me know. If you ever need guidance, not just questions, like if you just like straight up want some help. Bunk. Oh yeah, I didn't fix that. Ask on Twitter, probably the best way. What am I trying to say here? I mean, that about does it. Support has been amazing lately. I really appreciate it. Working hard on the game, still a lot of ways to go, unfortunately. But it's always fun in these streams. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. A lot of ums this episode. But hope it to end on a cool move. Let's see. I think there's a couple I haven't shown yet. It is lagging for some reason. Let's go to shoot. Which one haven't I shown? I do have like a flipping slam. I don't think I showed that one. Is it this one? I think it's that one. Let's see. I had one like jump higher, I thought. Looks pretty cool though. So if you like throws and stuff like that. Hit me up. Rolling suplex. Oh, it missed. Oh, we're going. It never ends. Anyway. Thank y'all for joining me today. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm on Twitter. I like to help. And I appreciate the community that we're building here. Thanks so much. See you next time.